Hello, welcome in. Hope everybody's doing well today. It is Thursday, February 13th, and this is another LaunchBox stream. My name is Brian. If you've never seen one of my streams before, I'm the product manager. I hope everybody is doing well this week. I did want to start off. Happy Valentine's Day Eve. I hope everybody that can is getting ready for that. It snowed quite a lot for our area. I think they said about 40 centimeters. To the point where I did get stuck in my car this morning for a short period of time before I had to do this sort of finagle back and forth in the car to get it to hop over the snow that it was stuck in. Although I am in the city, so they have cleared that away, but it was a little touch and go for a little while there. But I do have to get out and definitely get something for my wife. That is true. So thanks for the reminder there. Great news is that we had, I think since the time that you were streaming, Mr. Nibble, on Tuesday, we've now released both the Windows official release is out, 13.19, and Android is out, which is 1.17, with all those goodies. And I know people have been jumping into that. I think the last time I checked, we at least had, a few thousand people on the new releases. Like 5,000 or 6,000. And so that was good to see. And feedback has been, for the vast majority, pretty positive. They like that we focused on performance as sort of like the number one thing, and I think we did a pretty good job of, especially on the Windows side, of changing the norms that we've had over basically since forever. It's just that as we've talked in the past, sort of gets a little worse every single release, with the database growing and growing and growing over and over. That database never gets smaller. Oh, the one thing that I did last week, I talked about the Sega Genesis and games that you guys wanted me to play. And the good news is I hopped into both the Comic Zone and had an hour of fun in that game. That game's actually quite good if you haven't played that game. And definitely, if you're a big fan of comic books and all that jazz, that was a fun, and beat 'em ups and fighting games. That was a really fun game. But I had someone recommended Sonic Spinball, and I was not expecting much from that game because I'm not the biggest pinball fan, even though there's quite a few pinball games on this. Sonic Spinball. So I hopped in thinking I was only going to spend a couple minutes in this game, and spent quite a long time in this one. It was quite fun, and you can see I had retro achievements on, and I got 68 points. Let's see, I got a whole bunch of I defeated the boss. It's just like going through. What's funny, and hey, Game Noob. What's funny is that I'm not expecting much, and it starts off. It looks like you're Sonic, and you're going through the pinball, similar to the pinball level in Sonic 2 or something, but more pinball-y, if that's even a thing. and it just sort of like you don't really know where you're going, and you just sort of go. And you're just sort of learning the level, and you're just going through it over and over again, doing the pinball thing, but then uncovering different areas, and then that leads to these special gems, and yeah, that was pretty fun. I would definitely go back into that game and get further. So I mean, let's see what people had rated it. So I mean, it's doing pretty good. 150 people have rated it at a score of 3.84. That's a pretty high score. I would agree that I was having enough fun for like a 4 out of 5 stars. So I'll put that there and put in my 2 cents. Yeah, had a lot of fun, and I had learned about a game on the TurboGrafx CD that I really wanted to dive into. So I spent maybe like a good 30 minutes, and I thought this was like this was a very interesting game. Was I mean, you've heard of Street Fighter, but have you heard of Fighting Street, where you play a warrior named Ryu? and you have to fight. Did I let me see if I set this up. Oh, I didn't set up the dependencies. I need one of these. How about number 2? Number 1? I feel like I have it somewhere. Andrew, welcome in. Welcome in. We're just getting started. I am just... What I thought was really funny about this game, although for some reason I seem to have deleted my BIOS file. I'm sure I have it. Actually, I probably have it. Let's see. If I browse to... I think I had renamed for testing purposes. Although I might have deleted it, actually. Yeah, never mind. It all got wiped. What's this? All right. There we go. Oh, it wants. Oh, sorry. I'm downloading the wrong card. I don't know why I'm downloading the wrong one. These are optional ones. These are the required one. All right. I'll just show you. If you don't have this game, it is worth loading it up at least once, just for this moment. Hey, I even got one achievement. Fighting Street. That doesn't look like anything else. They have quite the original idea here. Ooh, okay. Alright, going to Japan. Or did I choose to pick Japan? Yep. Oh man, that's so bad. He's just jumping over me. He's kicking my butt. Ah. Anyway, it's worth playing at least once, because that is quite funny. Just imagine the room of people thinking about how to like a game that they need to design, and they're like, "Oh, that Street Fighter is getting pretty popular. We should make something similar." But what to call it? Has anybody managed to get up on either of the releases and see what they are all about? Now that they're out, I did want to spend some time showing a little bit about behind the scenes what happens exactly when we go and put out the releases. So what I do is, after all the testing that we possibly can do and the beta rounds and all that stuff, and we make the decision, this is the release. We've got maybe a few fixes since the last beta. Let's put it all out, wrap it up together, put out a release. So the developer, or as a team, we build the release, and I load it up in either Windows or Android, and I run the installer, make sure that that's working. Then we put it where we need it to go on the server, and we hit the big red button and make it live. Now at that point, there's probably like a little bit of a delay when that actually happens. It goes live. So I load up a secondary version of LaunchBox, and I run a complete live update, just like anybody would. And that tells me, hey, the update's good, the download servers are working, everything's flowing good. I load it up, do a few things, everything looks as good as it can from our end. And then the marketing work kind of starts. Now, before then, we've already have a video ready, and I'm usually the ones that get these. That's not the image. This image, if anybody saw the video. So like the video is ready, it's locked and loaded, the image is ready, and you can see here in Photoshop all the layers that it took to get this image ready. All this cool stuff here, yeah. And then, I turned on something I shouldn't have. There we go. We have Astrobob, who's involved getting the video kind of in a state that can be published. And then we wait a few hours, make sure that everything looks good, that people are reporting good enough things, we have enough people on it that we're comfortable, that there's no pattern of some issue that's going on that's affecting the majority of users, and then we release the video. And so that stage has happened. You see sort of the video is out. You can go watch it. It's right here. You can find it on when it updates, and I know not many people go. You can check the changelog as a user. That's a pro tip. The changelog will be the first thing that updates. So you'll see the changelog and the full amount of stuff in there. And then this image or the video that displays here will automatically update as well once the video is out. And you can always watch it from here. And then once that is all out and we're monitoring the comments and everything still looks good, we'll wait probably till the next day, which is where we're at now, and get out our newsletter. Now, I had put together a newsletter where it was about 90% ready, and I couldn't quite get it ready in time for this stream. So I spent a little bit of time here finishing it up. Let's take a look. And so this is sort of where we are. People don't want to wait for the newsletter and read it. I wrote it out, put together all the links. We're basically down to the images. You see, I worked on this image, which took a lot of like brain power of saying, oh, how do we showcase performance or speed increases, and yeah, it came down to me putting a giant no sign over this startup. And then this is an image that I have to replace from the last newsletter. So not 100% certain what I'm going to do, but one thing that I need to do was get an Android device. So I've got this tablet here that's has it's got LaunchBox for Android on there, all blurry and everything. And I'm gonna need to decide what image that I want to put on this thing. And oopsies. So, there we go. And I was thinking what I would do is kind of show what that looks like. Now, the thing about the Android release, for people that aren't on it or don't know what it involves, the main things, other than like a lot of fixes, there was quite a crazy amount of fixes that you can see in the changelog yourself. But the main thing is sort of like a enhancement to that NAS feature. So if you jumped on board and started using that network attached storage feature, you will be quite happy with version 2 of this thing. And that's probably the image that I'm going to gravitate to. First, I'm going to need some games from a network drive. So right now, I can't show this off. I wish I could show this off, but I am downloading or importing some games from my network. Oh, it's saying it's complete. And now I will probably just show it off. Well, pick a random game. What's a good TurboGrafx 16 game? Yeah, sometimes it's not about how good the game is, but how cool the artwork is. Fighting Street. Yeah, I don't think that it was out on the TurboGrafx 16. That is strictly a TurboGrafx CD game. But oh my god, I could probably just do that. You know what? I'm doing it. I'm gonna import the TurboGrafx CD. Oh, where is it? TurboGrafx CD. There we go. Doesn't take too long to import. I know a guy. He's like I think he's my brother-in-law's one of his best friends, and he's like a retro video game fanatic, and he's one of those guys that has more money than he knows what to do with it. So what he does with it is buys video games and video game memorabilia and nostalgic toys from his childhood, and just fills up like basements and houses filled with this stuff. Like enough where he had to probably buy a space just to put his stuff. And his favorite system is the TurboGrafx 16. Like, he loves it. And so every time I see him at like events and stuff, all I do is talk to him about retro games and his love of TurboGrafx 16. But he's I mean, he's got a lot of money because he's a lawyer by day. Nope, wrong system. And he just goes crazy. I keep trying to... He keeps wanting to buy all of my games. Does that make sense? So far, I have held fast to all of my stuff. Ah, no one put a background on the screenshot. Alright, let me see what that looks like. Not bad. Let's see. That might be a good enough funny screenshot that I won't care that it's there's no background. Alright, let's see what we got. I am going to figure out how to send this image to myself. Alright. And that's how I send an image to myself to my computer. Let's see what we got. Okay. Fighting Street. Courtesy of the gamer noob. Alright, so I'm going to copy that. I'm going to put that into Photoshop. That is one giant image, which is probably not a good thing when I really need something that's this small. Alright, yeah, that's not going to work. So let's crop this bad boy. How much do I really need here, right? Maybe this much? Something like that. Now, what does it look like? Not as bad? Feel like this nearest neighbor thing is causing problems. Now go down to the size that I need. Better. It's a really subtle image because of how it takes out the background a little bit. So I could try to enhance it a little bit here just for the images. So people can see I could manipulate it in different ways. I don't really want to. Probably do here is take sort of a rough look here, inverse, create a masking layer, and then in that, oh, that didn't work at all. I already have a masking layer. Put, oh, then I gotta do this backwards. Black in here. That should allow me to not too bad. But it makes it stick out a little more. Now, all I can do is save this image and inject it into the newsletter that we've got. This one would be, I don't know, just call it NAS support. Okay, where is newsletter. All right, this lovely MJML newsletter text or code. I need to find where the last image is. So this will be 19, and I called it support. I also need to grab that bad boy and put it right there. Image update. And send it up to the server, and then we got to see what we got here. There we go. Give it a minute or so, and then we will see if we are ready for this. Oh, and I am looking at the screen right here. Well, it does get across the Android update a little bit, so and Stigler, welcome in. Stigsler, am I saying that right? So you are making a heavy plugin, like a very heavy one. What are you doing with the plugin? I'd love to hear about it. But you were using that XML file. It is the metadata.xml file that's being replaced. But none of the user data. Like if this was an actually like weighted plugin, how much do you think it would weigh? So I can show you here in a LaunchBox build, and we're talking about the stuff inside of this metadata folder. We replaced that metadata.xml. Wow, 5 elephant, that's a lot. Okay, I believe you now. That is a heavy one. I think I've only seen up till maybe 2 to 3 elephants. So you can see this one right here. Not this one. So it's this file now. And you should be able to utilize it. Now, I'm not sure what plugin that you're using, but you have to make sure how you're utilizing this file, because it could mess up. Like somebody using your plugin might then find that your plugin is locking this file, and we're also trying to use it in LaunchBox, and as everybody knows, only one program at a time can utilize a file in Windows. And they'll run into some locking issues, so be careful. I think you can make sure that this database file is being read in some sort of read-only state. But that is the file, if that is the one that you're reading. If you're not using this file and you're more talking about that you're doing something inside of a user's data files, which is a little risky, then we haven't touched those. And Joe's right there. Yeah. Read only state. Read the file, and then you should be okay. Yeah, if you're looking at the XML file that contains the full scope of the database, of our games database, so all the platforms, all the games, then you will have to adjust your plugin to use this new DB file. hopefully that explains it. Anyway, I'm pretty happy with this newsletter. I'm going to do one quick check that every link is going to the right video or link. Got to be careful about this one. Yeah, that looks right. That looks right. That's right. That's right. And all those are right. These ones haven't been touched, but they all look right. Hey, no problem. Hope you enjoy your tea. Well, that's fun. That was this link, wasn't it? Yeah, I think that just did a nice error. Okay, we're good. I think we're ready. Now we just have to make sure. So we've got a lot of people on this newsletter list. Enough that Google has decided earlier this year, something that we had to struggle with was the fact that Gmail addresses, so Google itself, and only Google, decided that it was going to put some sort of new spam protection in. Not from a user side, but from where the emails are coming from. Didn't quite lay out what they were doing because they want spammers to just stop. So they don't want to be like, this is what we're doing, spammers, please abide by our rules. They just want the spam to stop, I guess. And it stopped our newsletters from going out randomly, just all Gmail addresses. Then that's when we went and we found out that about 80% of all email addresses that we have are Gmail. So that's a bummer. And so we have to kind of abide by the rules of Gmail, and their rules are don't send so many emails within a given hour. And that means that we got to slow down how fast emails go out. And so that is a setting that we can change. And I'm hoping we got covered. Okay, so what do I do now that got this newsletter? This newsletter is ready to go, but it's not really in the place that it needs to go. So if I can inspect this, I'll see that that's the wrong word. I shouldn't have used inspect. View page source. Okay, so I can take this whole page source and I can feed it into our nice newsletter section right here. Oh, got a different title. That's not fun. See where that is. Right here. Let's do this. I'm not actually sure we use this title, to be honest. Could be wrong. Let's find out. Okay, so might as well fix the title. And I can just fix it here. Okay, so locked and loaded in our system. Make sure I didn't screw anything up by previewing it. Nice. All right. If we are ready, I can start and hit the big red button. Are we ready? Feel like I'm ready. No pressure. And as soon as I hit the button, everybody, I don't know how many days. It's going to take days to send this out to everybody. So if you're on the list from today, when I press this button, I don't know, maybe it'll finish by Sunday or something. Quite a lot of emails to send. All right, so I'm hitting it. Here we go. All right. It is enabled, so I can close that out. Close that out. Check that off my list. We are done. That part of the list, and we end up having to just monitor the system and make sure nothing bad is happening. Now, what else has happened? We had released the feedback form, the feedback stuff. Has anybody, there has been a lot of people that have taken advantage of this so far. Particularly right now, we can see Chunky Mark is up at the top. Okay, so this is not the browser I'm signed into. That would make more sense. Okay, this makes more sense. Okay, so I'm at FeatureBase. I'll log in. There we go. All right, so we can see all the nice things that have come in from this sort of admin panel. We get to see all the nice requests and bug reports that have come in over the past little bit. And I thought we could take some time, look at some of your guys' features, and discuss some of them. Yeah, Chunky, you're at the top so far. You got to be somewhere here, I'm going to assume, with some requests that we can talk about. Did you want to talk about any one of them in particular? Let me know. Outside of that, I will start. Actually, there's not really anything here. Maybe I'll start here. I haven't quite. Ooh, I like that. So I've talked about this kind of chart before, probably very badly to my teammates. Like, imagine a chart where the x-axis is this and the y-axis is. This is basically what I meant, and what you want is stuff to go here. The things that go here end up being the ones that are easy to implement and that the vast majority of users would actually use. You don't want to be here. Can regular users edit the feedback request? I think so. I mean, try it out and let us know. Like your own request, you mean? All right, Game Discovery Center for Android. Let's talk about it. Now, first thing to note is that was a huge undertaking on Windows. Like big. It required a bunch of new kind of, I don't know if I want to call them technologies to get working. It was kind of touch and go. Like the idea that I had in my head, I had years ago, I don't know, 4 years ago or something. But the idea to accomplish that, you're basically looking at it's a list of lists that need to scroll in a sort of nice fashion that was good enough for users to scroll through in some sort of endless list of lists with a bunch of criteria that we came up with and some specific lists. And since then we've expanded it. When you're thinking about that kind of thing, how are you thinking about how you want it to look personally from a user's perspective? Are you just thinking, just do whatever we have here in Big Box? Now, let me try to find that request so I can read it. Here it is. So, Game New brings up a good point right away. So imagine on Android, you've got a small device. Here's one, okay? And it is extremely long. Ooh. Oh, it's telling me my stream's starting. Thank you for letting me know. So it's extremely long, right? Which means that the aspect ratio of this is something like, I don't know, 21:9 or something like that. Very long, very skinny. It's not this aspect ratio. This is a 16:9 aspect ratio. So imagine this, but like stretched out really long. So at that point, we would have to discuss, well, what could that look like if all of the lists were horizontal? You would see more of each list, but you would see less lists, and there'd be less space for other items for a specific game to appear. Okay, or you could have something like this, just a 16:9 panel. This would work well with something like this. Or someone's going to just want to view it like this, like portrait. That's not really a common thing that you do on a TV or PC or something. So what would that look like? How would we create it for that form factor? So from just a user experience perspective, we would have to keep track of probably more aspect ratios and support more aspect ratios. Sometimes the aspect ratio might be a square, and we'll talk about that later in a little bit. Sometimes the aspect ratio needs to be something else. So can we develop a UI that works with all of that? And is this that? I would probably say probably not 100% that this could work in that fashion. We also have the problem that people on Android might want to use their fingers to move the lists. Some people might want to use their controller to move the lists. We've got that extra sort of foundation. Okay, so at this point, we're not even talking about whether this is technically possible. So that would be the next step, is basically asking the Android dev, hey, do you think it's possible if we could create a list of lists? How would that look? On Android, they're called collection views. So I'd be asking him, hey, can you create a list of collection views? A carousel view will have the same problem as a collection view. We do want to do a carousel view, which we haven't done yet up until this point, but I think that would be a nice view to do. I don't think actually a carousel view would work well in this setting. I do think a carousel view would work really well just as a regular game view. And maybe a filter view. Because it provides kind of better transitions between the selected item. But like from a touchscreen perspective, I'd probably, I mean, if you're thinking about like, what does the Netflix app look like? What does all of those apps look like? And they're probably all using something similar to like a collection view. More static lists that can be scrolled horizontally with your finger. And so if that is a thing, then we can kind of move forward and kind of see what that kind of thing would look like. Now, you had mentioned here that you love everything about it, but you personally don't want to see recently added games. On top of that, so we would have to kind of make a decision, like, do we want to make it more interactive, more user options, or just like a one-to-one to whatever we did on Big Box, with some changes. Like, there are certain data points that we use on Windows that we just don't have on Android. So we'd have to identify those, one being something like the MAME high score leaderboards don't work on Android. So it doesn't really make sense to have a list specifically calling those out. Yeah, we'd have to see. We'd have to see. Retro achievements don't currently, I mean, they work, but they don't currently get displayed in LaunchBox for Android. So it doesn't make any sense to have a list like that. I think the other ones would be fine. And not only that, but like the continue playing list and the favorited list and all that stuff would actually get affected between your platforms. So that would be pretty cool, right? If you were playing a game on Windows and then you went to your Android device and loaded it up, downloaded most up-to-date information, and you had that same game there, it would then appear in that continued playing list. In fact, it does that. I'm trying to think if that does that. It's possibly it possibly does not, but we could get something like that working. Yeah, so if we wanted something like that where we could put together a list of options, just like it would have to be a giant list, right? Of all the different options, including any hard-coded ones that we make, and then all of the auto-generated ones. And then the problem I could see there would be if we make the decision to make this view themable, which we probably would, then users themselves or theme developers themselves would have the ability to just like erase a specific list, which is already possible on Windows, right? You could theme the Game Discovery Center and you can make it look like anything you want it to look like. And you can have full reign on adding your own lists, deleting lists, moving things around up to a point. right? There's a whole section on hard-coded lists, and then below that are all of these auto-generated lists. And so if someone removed some of those lists from their theme and you're using their theme, I could see it getting a little confusing if you had that option on to see, continue playing list, but you're using a theme where the theme developer decide to delete that. That would be a little confusing. So we would have to develop some way, which doesn't currently exist. So on top of that, we would have to develop a foundational way of keeping track of an options page that is theme dependent. And at this point, we're probably looking at some very large scope creep. Which we could remove if we just say, hey, well, let's just not let them let's just not let them be able to choose the list, at least from a user side. So those are some of the things that we're looking at. Now you can see here that I don't know if I did this, but I was really hoping that these stats would be public. I don't think they are, though. And so I put these values based on our experience with Big Box. There are users that do not want to see the Game Discovery Center and are very confused by it. They're very confused from a theming standpoint as to why they changed their theme, but that theme doesn't include a Game Discovery Center theme view, so that theme falls back to the default view, and then they think that the theming engine is broken because their theme that they applied didn't change the Game Discovery Center. We've seen that happen a little more often in the last few months. I think Android doesn't have that problem because each section of Android has an independent theme that you can choose from. So I think we're a little better there from an Android perspective. But in saying that, I put a value of 7, which would indicate that I'm thinking about 70% of users would use this feature. And I'd probably stick to that. The effort is a hard one because this all depends on whether our new framework, Maui and Andre, could figure out a way to make a whole lot of lists appear in some form of performant way. I think it's possible, but it's going to be hefty. It's going to be like, that's the only thing we do in that whole update. And that update would probably take a couple months. And so I put the effort at 7. That could probably be higher, to be honest. Probably 8. And that's kind of where I would rate this thing. All right. I had just got a hold of people watching the single sign-on developer streams from Josh on Tuesdays. So he's just sharing this, which was shared to him. It's the design concept for the single sign-on page. And the goal of this, and I don't know, you guys can chime in here. Right? The end goal is have one server one single sign-on server that you guys can go to, we can all go to, sign in, and that gives us access to all things LaunchBox, including the application, including the games database, all the things, MAME high scores, the forums. Like, that's the dream. Yeah, your license will be there. And we're talking an overall vision here. Any licenses that you purchased, any links to the version of LaunchBox that you would need automatically would be, you could download directly from your account. Since your account would have your license, you could simply just sign into LaunchBox and your license would just automatically apply. All right, that's sort of the dream. So, it's yeah. Josh would have to be the one to answer how many elephants that feels like to him, since he's doing sort of the brunt of that work. What do you think, Mr. Nibble? But yeah, I mean, looking from the outside of all the work that's being done, 50 elephants. Specifically talking about the weight of the work that you were doing. Oh, they're the biggest saggy baggy elephants. Yeah, that's how I envision them. Anyway, so the goal is this. The actual question that I have. Knowing all of that, we have, behind the scenes, done some development on how we want this new thing to look like. And this is sort of encompasses some of that styling, which means that this will be a single point styled in the way that we want LaunchBox to kind of be styled. That means that if people are on the forums or on this feature base and they hit login, if they're on the games database and they hit login, if they're on the www website and they hit login, and anywhere else, the forums, and they hit login. Oh, that's the wrong place. You get sent to this page. And then you would get sent back to where you came from after you logged in. And the decision that we made was, okay, let's not design this one page after one of these 5 places that we currently have. Let's design it in a way that showcases where we want to be, the stuff that we're going to be implementing later. And so that's sort of the decision that we landed on. So this page is going to look different than anything else that you've seen before, as sort of like the vision of where we want to get to, kind of thing. And I'm assuming that now that it's designed out like this, that we'll have this in a week, right? Next Tuesday is going to be Josh building this out. It's one Tembo badass elephant. Yeah. Anyway, that's where we're headed. Anyway, I'm sure Josh, you'll have a lot more to say about that. All right, let's take a look. Here's a good one. Actually, I don't know if this is what this guy's referring to, although... oh, it is. Okay, so this one's fixed already. If you find that any game right now is currently not launching for some reason, it's due to this setting right here. and we're looking into the cause. Attempt to hide console window on startup shutdown. And so if you're having any issues, no need to send us a ticket. We know about it. First try to disable this. And I'm pretty sure as far as launching a game, I'm not sure how many people are having this. It's very specific to certain emulators and maybe specific to specific setups. Let's go to some more. Actually, was there one that I wanted to highlight? I think there was. All right, yeah, okay. Here's a good one. Oh, I'm not sure why I'm not seeing it. It's got to be somewhere here. There. All right, from our good friend First Beer. So we know, I don't know how many people consider this a problem. You run the installer of Windows and we install DirectX for you. And then open up LaunchBox. Next time you run the installer, we again run the DirectX installer for you. Which is kind of like the installer is kind of like a, if you've ever seen it, it will check to see if you have it installed. And then if you don't, it'll install it. If you do, it won't really install it again, but it does a check. I don't know if there's a corruption check in there, but it basically will make sure that you have it installed. Okay, so we went through a thought experiment of what would we live in a world where this annoyance is gone, because like in our minds, there's no reason to reinstall DirectX. Okay, that's a valid point. So let's look at the world that we would live in if that were to take place. Okay. I wrote down that it'll take, let's say it takes about a week for us to develop this. So we go from Monday to Friday. Good. We've got something that we think is good where maybe it doesn't have to do it. Or maybe it's won't do it again on updates, but it'll only do it in installs. So it takes the benefit is that every bi-monthly cycle max, we will not prompt you to install DirectX. That's the benefit, right? The best case scenario. The cons would be it would be a slightly more complex logic during there. We wouldn't be able to validate DirectX is installed or DirectX is corrupted for a user. And therefore, the worst case scenario now for people is that we go from having 0 people who come to us with problems due to DirectX corruption or DirectX not being installed to having people. So the trade-off to me would end up being remove some mild annoyance from users to replace those people with some major annoyance from users that could find themselves in a situation where they don't understand why LaunchBox isn't working. That's what I'm saying we could do. Instead, LaunchBox just will, like, it's It's sort of like as the code is so basic, it will just run the DirectX installer. And if you know what a DirectX installer does, is it does all that stuff for the user. Like it'll install DirectX, it'll make sure that the user has it, basically. Like if you ever went and tried to download DirectX, like 9, and if you ever try to install it on your computer, this is sort of what it does. Yeah, and it needs administrative. Oh, it's got this extracted thing. Oh, that's wonderful. Download the cabs. Not what I wanted. I wanted the installer. Oh, it's not important. If you ever ran this, I haven't ran it in a long time, but it'll just scan your computer. It'll be like, okay, do you have it? Do you not have it? And it'll act appropriately, and then it'll move on. I mean, to me, that's the trade-off, right? Like, do we go through the week of development, and the best case scenario is now we have some people that might come to us with a problem that their LaunchBox isn't opening, and it turns out that their DirectX is corrupt or something like that. Where we currently live in a world where that is just not possible. It's not like, I mean, it's marginally possible, but it's not really that possible to be in that world. I don't know. Like, that's the trade-off right there. Here's a good one. Wacom LAN for accessing network drives on Android. Oh, it's another one of yours, Chunky. So we looked into this, and I don't know, maybe did like a good half a day of tests where we had, I used my computer as an example, made sure, like, in order for this to work, right, you have to make sure that your network supports Wacom LAN, that your computer is set up to accept these Wacom LAN packets, and all that stuff. So I set up all that. By default, I can't remember. I feel like by default it was not on my computer, so I had to turn that on my NIC card, and did a bunch of tests. The first thing that we did was download a whole bunch of download like a whole bunch of well, what I did was I downloaded a whole bunch of Wacom LAN applications on Android. These will wake your computer, and I got them all, and I started using them, put my computer to sleep, and clicked the Wacom LAN button for that computer. Did nothing. So I went through all of the apps. They don't seem to work. I don't know why they're not working. on my computer, and to our developer's credit, he put Wacom LAN into the application. Like, he figured out how to do it, and that's not working. And we were like, okay, is it his implementation? Is it my is it the device? Like, we don't know what the problem is until we kind of like went through a whole bunch of applications that also weren't working. So it's like, maybe it will work in a very specific scenario. And I thought there's a chance that it might work for some users. Maybe we just keep it in the application because it's there. We just don't know if it's working. We don't know what the side effects would be. So the decision was made right now to like not include it. So it's not in 1.17. We can revisit that since we've done the work. I just don't know how much benefit it will be to your specific scenario here. Right? Because I love all your reasons, but 100% wouldn't work for everybody, and that would end up then causing confusion anyway. It might work. I know if you had an actual NAS, like not just a computer, you have a network attached server somewhere, like a nice big one with a bunch of hard drives, and those can go into like a state. I don't know if it's a complete sleeping state or something, just like a power saving state that saves your hard drive. And I don't know in that scenario, because I don't have one, whether if you went in the application, if you went in LaunchBox for Android and you tried to download a game, if that would in it of itself start spinning that hard drive. I feel like it would. Like, there's no wake on LAN packet necessary for that specific scenario. But I'm guessing that there's some sort of hard sleep on these network attached storage that you could set them to, and that would require that packet. Yeah, it's a hard one. You got a server Stigler. So you did find a way to get the wake on LAN packet to send in the specific scenarios that you were wanting. But I almost feel like it's not something that we could do, if that makes sense. Like, there's no global scenario that we could make it work. That the user would have to spend a lot of time in their own servers making sure that all their settings are right, all their routers are right, all of that stuff needs to be set up ahead of time and configured properly. And then, when all of that is set up, our wake on LAN packet would actually do something. Maybe. Yeah. So it's a BIOS setting if the NIC card that you're using is part of the motherboard. If the NIC is something else, just like a separate NIC with its own software drivers, then it's a software setting that you have to choose inside of Windows. Or I guess whatever other operating system you might be using. It's easier to walk upstairs and turn it on. Yeah. I would personally, if I had one, put it in a state where there might be some power settings for the hard drives themselves, but any ping to that server would spin up those hard drives. Because that's the only thing you're really wanting to save, like a buck or two for power saving to shut the whole thing down. Versus really what I want is to save the hard drives and extend their lifespan. So, and you would have, we're talking about mild annoyances with DirectX. Every time that you access that server, even in that scenario, you would be waiting, a bunch of seconds for this thing to start spinning up again. I had a scenario like that in the past. And I felt that was super annoying that when I went to do anything on that server, play anything, do anything, there was this long delay as it's like, I'm warming myself up for you again. And I ended up, if I'm remembering right, it's just like just making it be on all the time. Although that was just a choice that I made. But yeah, I would love for this to just be like, yeah, we're sending the Wake on LAN packets. Good luck. Please don't come to us and talk about your hardware configuration requirements. We have no idea. We just know we send Wake on LAN packet. Oh, you got WD Reds? So there you go. There's one way to get around it. Get faster hard drives. All right, here's a good one. Chromebooks. Does anybody live in a scenario where they use a Chromebook on a daily basis? I would like to talk to you two that have one. See, that's a good answer, Mr. Nibble. You see, this guy thinks that everybody, I mean, oh man. Even you, Chunky, would use it 30, 50% of the time. Maybe we got our 2 users here. Here's the thing. So just because of this request, I had to research Chromebooks and how they work. So this is the way that they work, technically, from my understanding. They do have the ability to play Android apps, right? But not natively. They do it through a virtual machine that they have set up on their system automatically. So you load, let's say, LaunchBox for Android in this example, and it loads it in a virtual machine window. And so it's sort of like emulating the Android operating system for this application. And if you've played around with virtual machines over the years, you know that by default, and something that they do 100%, is that they NAT your connection to the internet. So they use a specific way to gain an IP address for that specific instance, that your device or that app is not represented on your local area network. And therefore, because it's not actually on your local area network, it cannot access the shared drives on your local area network. And so this guy's request is make that work. Like, screw technology, just let me make it work. And he lists a bunch of applications where it does work. And so what, like, Google has thought about this. They know that, you know, these applications are not going to be able to natively be on your local area network. So they created in their own apps, like Google File Manager, a way to establish that connection. The problem is Google didn't make that universal. All they did was bake it into that one application, and they called it Google File Manager. We would not be having the discussion, and this guy would be very happy if Google made the decision to build a universal, some sort of network attached storage support for all Chromebooks. They did not. They just baked a solution that they made into their application, and then he lists some other programs that do the same thing. They baked a solution into their programs. And so for us to make this a reality, we would have to find a solution just for specific to Chromebooks and bake it into our application. Which, isn't out of the question. But then the question is, okay, what's the value? The value is for anyone using Chromebooks enough to, and use LaunchBox for Android on it, that also have a network attached storage solution that they then want. So it's like a number of layers that would need to which has happened for this guy, and this is what this guy wants. And this is what's great about this, is that then the voting, anybody that votes on this will tell us the number of users, or give us an example of a number of users that are in this exact scenario. And that's what I like about FeatureBase, is that we'll learn, hey, is this scenario larger than we think it is? Or just about as much as we think it's going to be? And it's something that we can change, but I rated the value as 1 out of 10, which represents, in my mind, out of everyone that's in our LaunchBox ecosystem or platform, about 10% I view would have a Google Chromebook that use it, that require network attached storage support. And you can let me know if maybe I'm too high or too low there. I would say that's pretty generous. The effort is a hard one to monitor or to evaluate, because I sort of like the unknown. Maybe we find a library or some sort of NuGet package or something that claims that they have this exact support that we're looking for. And it won't be that much work. It wouldn't be the first time that we put in device-specific network solutions. If you have a NVIDIA Shield TV, NVIDIA faced the same situation that Google was with Chromebooks. And they found that they could just make a universal network solution. And then they did. And so it's been a long time, maybe 3-4 years at this point. 4 years, I'm thinking. But at the time, Jason was working on the application. He had a Shield TV. He saw that network, universal network support, and he baked it into LaunchBox. So anybody with a Shield TV has been benefiting from that this whole time. They don't need to use our new network support that we came out with. The problem is that that's also not the largest scenario of users using our application, is not people using a Shield TV. And man, I wish that another device or even NVIDIA would update that thing, because that thing's getting old. All right. Hold on. Just making sure I'm not getting a call here. I actually had a lot to get to, and I'm feeling like we used a lot of time not on the stuff that I wanted to get to, but that's okay. We got the newsletter done. We're looking at FeatureBase. Okay, so maybe I'll... The classic Casio calculator. I wonder if anybody emulated the classic Casio calculator. Because we could do the opposite. We could make LaunchBox launch into the Casio calculator. Oh, that's funny. Okay, so there was three different things that I found in the community that I want to touch on. Now, if anybody has any questions, by the way, or anybody wants to discuss anything, yeah, let me know, and we can do that instead. But until then, what I'm going to do is there was one thing. So a user was having a problem. Let me see if I can find where they were having a problem. No, that's not the one. Okay, so on the forums, they upgraded, and they're saying that they have this error. And now this error looks like, if you look here, when they launch a game, I think that's what's happening. No, it doesn't mention that. No, it doesn't mention that. Okay, so he's saying that the file path of their games end up looking like this. And yeah, thanks for that follow. Mythos PoE says the path was a UNC path plus a mapped server path. Oh, this is a different user than I was originally thinking that this was. Okay, so the scenario, I'm trying to picture the scenario here. He was importing games from a mapped path that he called Z, and 100%, anybody watching this, please don't do that. Please don't map your drive to a letter. You can use network storage, but do yourself a favor. Don't map it to a letter. Just use the UNC path. That'd be much easier for you, and it would break a lot less. Anyway, rant over. So he's using a mapped path from Z or Z and trying to import games from that path, which historically works well. And so I wanted to recreate that scenario to see if importing that path, and let's do it on a 13.19. So here's a 13.19 build that I can use for testing. And Barney, will the new LaunchBox update launch games quicker when you have mega bezels applied to RetroArch? And so for people that don't know what mega bezels are, they are a filter / bezel that you can apply to RetroArch. And unfortunately, Barney, you might be talking to the wrong guys here, since we don't really have any kind of relationship with the mega bezel guy. I think it's just one guy. I've talked to him once, and really, I can't make his work faster, if that's what you're asking, right? The games are launching slow because Mega Bezels is kind of a beefy project. It's a really cool project. It looks really cool, but it's, going back to our scale, 50 to 100 elephants worth of weight just to get that thing running. Like it's heavy. Oh, like you're noticing. Right, as soon as you get rid of the mega bezels, boom, it's nice, super fast. But so you kind of need to just kind of live with that, right? That like you have to kind of understand, okay, I want to use mega bezels, I need this kind of machine to run them. We don't really have any control over mega bezels, but if we did, and I'm sure the guy has done this, look for ways to make it lighter, look for ways to perform. I mean, this is exactly what we just did with LaunchBox over the last bunch of months, was exactly that. Like, how can we make this feel lighter for the user, make it take less time to start up? And maybe he's got some tricks up his sleeve that he can apply to mega bezels in the future. I'm sure he's also reliant, like his work is reliant on RetroArch itself, so it's possible some of the solutions need to be applied directly to RetroArch to make the application load faster, and maybe to do whatever it needs to do for those mega bezels to be faster. But all that work is outside of, unfortunately, LaunchBox's scope, which all we do is click a download button that downloads RetroArch for you. Or you link RetroArch to LaunchBox, and we just send a command that says, open your RetroArch and load this game. And that's where LaunchBox kind of stops with its what we have control over until you're back in LaunchBox. Hopefully that answers your question a little bit. Oh, did I open the wrong? No, I had this open already. This is the wrong application. All right, so we're closing it. Oh, I 100% did not update this to 13.19 yet. I think I was going to, and then I didn't. So let's go through that process. Let's go through the mildly annoying DirectX process of installing LaunchBox. I don't even think DirectX is the problem that users have. It's the fact that DirectX requires an elevation to an admin to install. That's the mildly annoying part. But yeah, so the goal here. So if I was reading this again, just to remind myself, user Zokia, I have crash. Then later we realize I have crash when I launch game. That's sort of where we are. The crash is showing an incorrect URL to the path of the game. Actually, he's not quite. He didn't 100% tell us what he was doing to get the crash. But we can infer based on what he has said and what the crash is saying. So what he's done was he sent me. Okay, this is what's new. So what I did was I set up his exact scenario. I mapped to a Z drive for my games, and I imported from this drive to LaunchBox, and lo and behold, everything was great. Which doesn't help him because he's saying it's broken, but it's not broken on my machine. So I told him, hey, send me over your data files. I'm going to look at what exactly could be the problem in your own data files. And so he did that, so we might as well. Why am I not seeing it? Here it is. Oh, it's not that one. It's over here. Alright, so he sent me some data files. And so I'll download them here. All right, now it's a 13.19 release. And what I do, just for quick testing, is you can see I kind of have a history of different versions here that I can spin up very quickly. And the reason why I do this is because all it takes is one guy on the forums that says, hey, this version, before this version, LaunchBox was so much better. And I can load up that version and kind of prove the guy, like, with facts. Well, that version was better in this way, worse in that way. Like we can actually see and use that data to determine what we might want to do moving forward. More data is always better. Okay, so we've got some games. Is this the one where I tried to import them? No, I think this was a different... yeah, it was a different thing that I was doing here. Okay, so we're going to close that, and we are going to back up our data files after LaunchBox says fully closed. Don't mess with those files. If LaunchBox has not closed out, it has closed. Well, let's rename the data folder. We're going to take this guy's data and we're going to load it up. All right, there we are. We're going to see all the cool stuff that he did in LaunchBox. I guess I will just open up LaunchBox and tackle it from that angle at first. But let's take a look quickly at what we're looking at. We're looking at 75 platforms. All of them seem okay. At least seeing any problems here. Sort of like the arcade basic playlist, but nothing outside of that, so that's pretty good. Okay, yeah, please don't do that. He's got some settings on. Well, he's got a game called Controls. That doesn't seem like a game, to be honest. Let's turn this off for this data set. Yeah. That's not a game. Alright, so he's got 40k games, which is funny because that's the... I don't know how many games everybody else has in their LaunchBox library, but I use 40k as sort of like the standard of games that we need to have in our libraries in order to safely test, performance testing and all that stuff. But make sure that 40,000 games will work. Interesting. So let me see if we touch that, because I don't even remember. I feel like we decided not to, but yeah, it's still there. So I think you're still good. Yeah, we didn't take all of these files, like files.xml, game controllers, MAME.xml, platforms.xml. We didn't combine them into the metadata SQLite. It's something we could do in the future, so keep an eye out. But for now, I think you're good. It's because those files they don't provide the benefit, day-to-day benefit to the users as the metadata file instantly would. Okay, so the guy's error showed, wow, okay, here we go. He even has the Sega Pico. Look at that. That's a lot of Sega Pico games. We should play Richard Scarry's Huckle and Lowly Busiest Day Ever. Okay. Yeah, some of these. I assume that he's got this set up for MAME. Right? Isn't that the only thing that could play that? He's got it in RetroArch. Is RetroArch play Sega Pico games now? That'd be news to me. Maybe it has for a long time. I think I'm thinking of a different platform, to be honest. I kind of see what the problem is for him. While at the same time don't fully understand it. So if I was looking at his problem, which I'm not seeing it. Okay, here. Was he doing in the error? The error stated... Alright, I can't actually see the error there. Yeah, so SNK Neo Geo Pocket Color. And then for some reason, he's got a folder in there. So, didn't list the game, right? I don't think that matters, but let's just go with the first game here. You can see that he's got a relative path. This is a very, very interesting path scheme. But then somehow, because this would indicate that this is not a network path at all, actually. But he just told us that he's on a network path. So why is this a relative path? But he's saying that his games are on a network path. There's only two scenarios here. Either one, his LaunchBox is also on the network. And he forgot to mention that part. Yeah, same thing in this file, which is okay, so that gives me something. So I'm going to assume, and thanks for that follow, Yoda. I'm going to assume that he's running LaunchBox from his Z network drive. So his scenario would be something more like, let me see if I can confirm that with his emulators. He also has his emulators inside of that same kind of system. I don't want to set up this whole thing, but basically what he has, he's got a Z drive, and in there he's got a LaunchBox folder, right? And then also has a folder called Arcade. And then inside of his Arcade folder, he has a folder called Emulators. And inside also a folder called... Actually, this is where it's going to get really, really weird and messy. Must have made sense to him at some point when he created this. For some reason, he decided not to put a folder called Games, but instead a folder in here called SNK Neo Geo Pocket Color. And then inside of that, put a folder called ROMs, which would indicate to me he, for some reason, has other things in here. And then I'm assuming that he has all of his other stuff in there. Alright, so this is the scenario that we find ourselves in. And let's see. So I was using 13.19. Is that right? Well, it's going to take a long time to copy over here. Oh, this is what I do. Mess up my own folders for the greater good. He's running off of his network a version of LaunchBox that is pointing to another folder that's a relative path outside of the LaunchBox folder to his games and his emulators. Oh, wow. Okay, this is going to take a while. I'll just let it go. Okay, so that's fun. That's a fun way to do it. Not sure why you would do that. Also seeing that his games were not really in the right format. But that's just an exercise that users have to go through. So check your folders. Don't be like this guy. And if you have your games in a 7-zipped up, do yourself a favor and don't do that. And the reason is, and I didn't know this a long time ago, although it looks like, if I'm looking at his path, these ones are not 7-zipped, so prematurely harping on this guy. But as far as I know, up until now, there's not one emulator that can read a 7-zip file. And instead, what's actually happening is, you can send a 7-zip file. You can send it to like an emulator like RetroArch, and it will play. But what it's actually doing behind the scenes is it will first unzip that file. So like has a command, okay, I can't read this 7-zip file. I'm going to extract it to a temporary RetroArch folder somewhere, and then I'm going to load whatever was extracted. And I'm assuming that you're 7-zipping to save space, the marginal space that it takes to 7-zip. But if you still want the space saving, just zip your games. If you zip your games, emulators can natively read those files without needing to unzip. So you get kind of like not as much compression, but similar compression. And you don't have to wear out your hard drive as much trying to zip and unzip things behind the scenes. And if you do that, yeah, definitely uncheck our option that says to unzip, to extract your games, because you don't want that to be on. Must say, people who are watching me over the last few weeks, I this cough, and I could say that I'm like so close to being over it. It definitely feels like the light is at the end of the tunnel. Alright, so to need a little bit of a setup here. Oh, my microphone's not working or something? Or is it the desktop audio went away? Let me know. I adjusted some settings, so I mean OBS looks like it's streaming. Oh, another microphone. Interesting. Yeah. How's that? I think my Yeti microphone here lost connection for like a second, and everything took over. Windows like, I don't see that. I'm going to now come out of your webcam. Oh, that's fun. Okay, so we're setting up the scenario, and I'm trying to figure out a way not to do this in like the most time. But I think I'm gonna have to. You know what I'll do is I will how much stuff do I have here? Do I have a version of RetroArch here? I do, so I'm just going to copy it to here. LaunchBox emulators. It should not take that long. Okay, and now I'm going to open up LaunchBox and get some. Do I even have SNK on this computer? I don't. That's fun. So I don't need a lot of games. I need like one. How many people are familiar with the Neo Geo Pocket Color? Funny enough, I have a Neo Geo Pocket Color game in a box. Never played the system. I don't have the system. One of my cousins gave me a box filled with retro stuff, and just happened to be a random Neo Geo Pocket Color game in it. Alright, so what... I have recreated this guy's machine on my computer. Okay, so now I go to the Z drive. Oh god, the cost of that thing? Yeah, I can't see that being something I would be wanting to get. Not worth the money. Yeah, I had opened it, but now I don't remember if I opened it. Oh, so I did. That's great. We're ready. We're ready to test this guy's scenario. I don't have to touch anything. I'll just oh, wait. I'll use this one for the arcade emulators thing. I had put... Oh, I'm gonna need another one. No. Okay, so we're here. I had placed it in the wrong spot. Yeah, that's great. He had it here. Okay. Now I'm ready. To test this guy's scenario. And maybe help with fixing whatever the problem is with this guy. This guy's LaunchBox. I can't fix the problem with the guy. I'm sure he's a wonderful person. Just has a problem with his LaunchBox. In this sort of odd scenario. So I have this game. So you can see, oh wow. Oh, he had multiple versions of that game. Look at that. So I had just downloaded one. Which one did I download? I don't see multiple versions of that game here. This is more for my sake than anything. Oh, I see. He combined Puzzle Bobble Mini. That makes sense. That makes sense. But you can see the play button is live and well, which means it's finding the game in that specific location. If I go into the emulators, I'm going to make sure that RetroArch is there. Oh god, he named it funny. Okay. Alright. So some reason that's the wrong one. He doesn't just have his... Oh, okay, so his full path is arcade, emulators, LaunchBox _ RetroArch. Okay, I shouldn't have done that. LaunchBox _ RetroArch. And then in there, this one's called RetroArch Win64. Alright, and then in there's a RetroArch.exe. Alright. Oh yeah. Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. I'm not sure what exactly it's finding since I don't have anything in the path. I got the one game there. Okay, so I'm gonna make sure that everything inside of here is now correct. So launching is now correct. I'm able to find that one. Emulator, he's using RetroArch. That RetroArch is using that wonderful path. The associated platforms, Neo Geo Pocket Color is, what the heck? Why is that there? That's a problem. That is a problem. That extra command. Maybe. Let's find out if it is a problem. And he did undo the extract ROM for this. Okay, let's see what happens. That would indicate that this is a very old build of LaunchBox. Seeing that there. Or someone put it in there thinking that would solve a problem when it does not. Let's see what happens. Did I ever start a job and you wish you hadn't? Yeah. Alright. So have the guy's exact scenario. And start playing some bust a move. Oh, that's wonderful. 2 of them. Blue. Yellow. Okay. That was wrong. Oh man, I didn't even see that. Yeah, that didn't go well. But anyway, still managed to beat the first level. Oh, a new record, 41 seconds. Okay, so... Well, at least I could say that I did it. And I did it on the stream. You guys... you guys saw that I went through his scenario. I used his data files. I didn't touch his data files, really. Just placed things in the same way that he's placing things. Launched it from my network. So it thinks that it's on some Z drive. And it's working. So that's fun. I mean, this doesn't help him out. But I don't know, maybe it puts our minds at ease just a little bit that we don't actually have a problem. Maybe it's something else. Anyway, so that's if anybody's wondering what I do some of the time, that is what I do. And I will respond to that guy at some point after this stream. That's one problem with this guy. I don't think he really has mentioned what the problem is. Like what the scenarios he's finding himself. All right. Number 2. So I've got more than this one guy. I'll see if I have time. I think I still have enough time to do this. But let's see what is next on my list. Okay, so there was a guy right here that mentioned, hey, I love big details. This is his response to my response. So his response was probably... Oh, how long ago was this? Look at this. Oh, here. Says, I absolutely love this theme. So this is Evolution 3. Says he loves the big details theme, but he wants... Oh, a custom image. A custom image? Oh, no, not a custom image. You mean the background image that the default has, which is basically a control that will display game images and change them. It's actually quite performance heavy. So if people wanted to actually save some performance and make LaunchBox seem a little bit more smooth, turn that off in the settings. You can like completely just turn off background image. This basically renders a giant, it blurs out the image, saves that as a snapshot of a blurred out image in a cache, and then displays it every time you change a game. Okay, but he wants that in big details. And I told him, send me a PM and to remind me that I can do this. And I thought, maybe I can do this for him on the stream. So let's take a look. I haven't actually prepared anything for this, so you're going to see my whole process. What does that mean? Going to help out this guy wanting a background image, I'm assuming in big details. And I have to remember how he did it. Okay, so this is the default theme. What he's referring to is that blurred out image in the background there behind this box. Actually, it's behind everything, but you just can't see it as much. There. He wants that in big details. Now, I know, since I do remember building big details. Here it is. I decided I'm not going to add that to this theme. So I could control the color scheme over the list / image grid. And this guy would love to have that back. So I can do this for this guy. Will the .NET update to .NET 9 affect plugins? Yes, it will. You will have to point to .NET 9. Your project will have to be a .NET 9 project. I think if you're still around, I know that you were doing that recently with some of your plugins. Okay, so this is big details. I'm assuming he wants it here. I could put it here, but this is already taken. And so, does he really want it behind there? Let's see what happens if I just put it everywhere. That's what he wants, right? Just like everywhere. Okay, how do I do this? Let's go back to the big details theme. And I'm going to need to add that element back. So the default theme does have it, so I'm going to have to look in there for that particular piece of code. Right, so the main view is here. Is it in the main view? It is. I think it's this right here. Content background view model. Inside of this transition. So I'd have to make sure that transitions are here. Okay. Here we are. Here's the big box, or big details, theme files. Seeing sidebars, I'm seeing progress bars. Interesting. Yeah. I'm gonna say it probably needs to go here. And grid row probably needs to be 1. And then grid column span probably needs to be 4. Oops. And grid row span probably needs to be 3. I think that's right. Here's a transitions thing there. Okay. Should put it where I need it to go. Let's see if I did it right. Right. If I did this right, then I am done the evolution 3. I've done this favor for evolution. If anybody else has a favor, let me know. Okay, let's see. Background, right? I'm not seeing it. I wonder if I have something over it. Oh yeah, you can see it right there. Right there. That's a little odd. That's fun. I have solid colors somewhere. But where? Here. That's not going to cause any problem. It's probably not even in this file. This grid splitter has a solid background. I wonder if I should this grid splitter also has a solid background. And I'm going to assume that Box's content view also has a solid background right here. So if I wanted to, thinking about how I would do this for this dude. So let's say I set it to something like 40%. I could make this easy on myself by just putting it in the box, the same box as the box's grid, instead of spanning this whole thing. Let's see what that looks like. Then I'd be done. That would be grid column 3, 2, and grid row 2 as well. Nope, 3. All right, so now we should see this in the background. You can see with LaunchBox theme development, I have to reset. Oh man, okay. Wonder why I have that there on this. I have more than one solid background. How many backgrounds did I put on this? Okay, so I say, oh, see, I've got another one like literally right here. Why do I have 2? Let's try that again. Still worried about this line. Hey Stig, you can hijack this stream as much as you need. That's what it's for. And if anybody else has any issues with LaunchBox or any questions, let me know. There it is. Okay. Oh. That's a fun background that I haven't seen in a while. What he wanted? Can he control? Oh no, he can't control brightness because that's linked to another layer that I now have to also get. Where's that? Background blur and background fade. So in order for him to control the background fade, I would need to grab okay, this one, that here, copy where this is going. Now he can control the fade. Kind of. Oh. Sounds like a big jump. When you get into Rhino territory, you like... That's a tough one. Using the multiply by converter. That's fun. That means I'm gonna have to add that here. Now this should work. Or I've crashed out LaunchBox. That is also a possibility here. So far, so good. All right, I think we're good. And now we just need to figure out why the heck is there a line right there? What is that line? You know what it is. You know what it is. I know what it is. Do I know what it is? Yes. Yes, I do. That I didn't copy this. I'll put it here instead of here. Yeah, I think it is the line for pulling down details. I think that's what I was seeing, but it's mainly because I just had the layers layering over too much. could have probably solved that by just putting a solid color on that line as well. There we go. Oh, wonderful. Now there is that visible line there. That is a solid color. That's probably underneath this layer. Is that a problem? I wonder. I mean, it makes this more visible that you can do this. Man, this took forever to get working. It's the idea that you could move this details in this weird sort of way, and all the buttons are like changing at different times. Glad I'm not doing that right now. Yeah, I'll call it a day. I think that's pretty good. All right, so I'm gonna send this guy on the stream. Where did I put his message here? Here it is. They're like, hello there. You can download this file and place it into your into following folder. Let's get this folder right. LaunchBox, LB themes, big details, views. Actually, I think that's it. All right. And now I will. That is the wrong folder. Okay. Which one did I change? I think I changed 2 files. Download these files. I think I changed this one and this one. Say, you know what you think. And I guess since he put something, I'll do a wink and done. The suited alien, how are you doing? Do you still get an Emmy Movies coupon with the premium membership of LaunchBox? Yes, I do believe you do. What will happen is that you'll purchase the license, and then you'll get an email with your license file, and in that email you will see your coupon in that email. All right, helping people one at a time. We are done with evolution number 3, and we have one more thing that maybe I'll have time here to look at, but this one was a guy on for Android, and he said, look how funny the unified light theme looks on my device. And the first thing that I noticed was, that is a very weird device. That is very square. Who has a phone that looks like this? And then I found out that the phone that he has is the Galaxy Fold 3, which I guess the 2 screens would end up looking like a square. And I was definitely not thinking about that when I built this theme. Hey, no problem, besuited alien. If you have any questions, let us know. Come back here every Thursday, and you can ask me a question, and I can answer it for you about LaunchBox. Definitely, if you haven't yet, you said that you recently got LaunchBox, so I'm assuming that you've downloaded LaunchBox, you've set up some games, and you use it. Yeah, that's a huge video, isn't it? The way that this theme works is this is the problem with this view, is that I put this border around this theme. I mean, now looking at it, I could probably solve it fairly simply. So I put a border around this video, but the problem is that videos don't really have a height and width that is exposed to the theme developer. So you can't just say wrap this border around this video. That would not do anything. So instead, what I think that I did, and this is like somehow I had to solve this problem. The problem is I need a border and I need it to wrap around this video. But the size of like the height and width of where this layout is can change depending on the user's aspect ratio. Something like this, very large, like the grid size goes larger, which means how do I adjust the length of this border so that I can make it so that the video's inside of it. And what I landed on was this aspect ratio converter that we had made for another purpose. I'm like, I could probably utilize this. At the time, I thought that it was smart, where I basically say, calculate the height, and then based on the height, just make the width 4:3 aspect ratio, or some other aspect ratio or something. And I created a whole bunch of aspect ratios, and then I created some data triggers that basically said, hey, if it's this platform, use this aspect ratio. If it's that platform, use this aspect ratio. And so no matter the resolution, no matter the aspect ratio of the theme, you can see that the video is at least staying inside of the box, even though the box is ginormous. So what I think that I need to do, and luckily I've got this emulator that I can try. It's not the best, and I definitely recommend not using this. So I'm gonna go for a straight weird 1:1 aspect ratio. Oh god, that looks wrong. That doesn't look right, right? I think what I'm looking at is actually 4:3. How far do I want to go with this? Do I really want to measure his screen? It is a 4:3, isn't it? Now looking at it closer. And I missed you coming in, Astro Bob. I hope you're doing well today. It must be real early for you. Or late, depending on when you consider that threshold there. Wait, I missed what I was looking at. Yeah, it is 4:3. Okay, that's interesting. So it's just the aspect ratio of a CRT monitor. I'm gonna have to do this all over again. Astrobot, it's been a while since I hope nobody's missing him on the stream, so he will be streaming sometime soon. Maybe next week. Alright, so this would be like 1440 by 1080. There we go. That looks better. Ooh. I mean, just don't burn it. Like, I know from experience that if I cook something for too long, it's not going to be edible by the time I want to eat it. Okay. We are now 4x3 Galaxy Fold 3 phone, or whatever it's called. Aspect ratio. Okay. One thing that I'd love to do, just for my sake, nothing to do with work or anything. You see these little tags here. The higher energy video game system. These are like marketing slogans that were real marketing slogans, and I built it directly into this theme. Like, it's thinking. And I don't have one for everything. I'd love to get a complete list of these marketing slogans. I could just use them in all sorts of themes. Anyway. Get off of that tangent, and let's go to the unified light theme and see what we got here. Look, exactly what he was showing. How would I solve this? Let's take a look. So I got this really not pleasant code editor to work with in here, but it is the best that I can find. And we're going to find the LaunchBox themes folder, find the unified light folder, the games view, and there should be one games view in here. And you can see I had to bake colors into here, all sorts of colors that change the, I believe the border, and that border really cost a lot here. I kind of wonder now if I should have done it a different way. For the Android app, it is Maui right now, and we had just upgraded from Xamarin since Microsoft decided they don't like Xamarin anymore and they like Maui better, even though, yeah, it's been a fun challenge getting it into Maui and making the user experience from Xamarin to Maui not that hectic. The dev is okay. Personally, I only do the front end portion, but I believe that our dev is having a good time. We're also going to, in the future, hopefully near future, I believe he's working on it now actually. He's currently working on upgrading the framework to .NET 9. We didn't do that on the original push, and we're going to see what that breaks and fix that. And that will then allow us to upgrade a whole bunch of packages and stuff that we use that will hopefully fix all the things. All right, I need to probably find out where this video element is. Here it is. Okay, it's definitely not in this one, so let's close this guy off. It's not this. It's here. Okay. What does this look like on a portrait? So the wonderful theme development of Android means that we have to develop on even orientation. Oh, look at that. Actually looks pretty good. Oh, nice. Yeah. Chat GPT. That'd be good. Yeah, when I did this, yeah, AI was not a thing at all. You know, it'd be funny though. So if we ask and they just like give us something, it tends to, if it doesn't know, it just gives you an answer anyway, like it thinks it knows. I wouldn't know the difference. I would just use it, and we would just be using like fake marketing slogans that we thought were real. The hard ones are like systems from Japan. They had their taglines, but it's in Japanese, and I can't read Japanese or understand it, so I wouldn't even know. So it's only this that's causing the problem. Okay. I need to create a trigger. And the value would be I don't think I use that trigger in here. The trigger's slightly different than the one that we use on Windows, so a lot of times I get them mixed up in my head. Luckily, do I have it saved here on my local drive? Let's see. Those of you who love your graphics to look like CAC, you have to remember the digital, like the age that they were living in when they had it. Right? The same with like the Commodore 64 and that sort of age. Hey, we used to think that it was cutting edge time. Wait, do I see theme? No, I'm in, oh yeah, no, that's right. There's my documentation. Ah, you were the Commodore 64 guy. Yeah, I had a friend that had. I used to play Commodore 64 all the time. Actually, two friends. My parents could not afford one. We ended up with an Apple II of some kind. That was sort of a hand-me-down Apple II, and that's what I grew up with. And I love how somebody gave us like a giant thing of discs, and there'd be games on one side of the disc, and then you'd flip the disc over and there'd be another game on it sometimes. And so as a kid, nothing was labeled, so it was just like stick the disc in and just play, see what it is, and then flip the disc, play a completely different game, and then sort of like label the discs so I could remember what everything was. Prince of Persia? No, I was there even a Prince of Persia on Apple II? I would not think so. I mean, maybe there is now. Yeah, there is no way the Apple II could do the Prince of Persia. Oh god, can it? Did it? Oh my god, it did. Now, the first time I played the Prince of Persia was when I got my first PC. IBM PC, a 486. Yeah, that thing was a beast. It was one of those shady places that sold computers where they gave you, like, I guess my dad brought me to the computer shop, like these tiny little computer shop, and they saw that he had a son, so they loaded up a whole bunch of kids games onto it. Just gave us a whole bunch of games right onto the hard drive. And so they had told me where it was, and I was learning all the commands, DOS command. And they had some games folder, and I was just, that was my first experience in those games. You played Prince of Persia on your dad's 386. Yeah, so I played the Prince of Persia on that, on the 486. And yeah, I love that game. I beat that game multiple times. It was really fun. Learning all the secrets. Alright, what was I doing again? I was looking at this document that I created. Did I really create this? Controls, converters. Playtime converter. Alright, maybe it wasn't a converter. Maybe it's just a binding. Image bindings, image bindings. Ah, here we go. That's what I want. The binding is just aspect ratio, and then here are the examples. So I just want full frame landscape. Okay. Where was I here? Oh, just trudging through this. Here it is. So not orientation, it's aspect ratio, and the value would be full frame landscape. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is basically say if they're on the full frame landscape device, then I need to adjust which one. I don't know. I'm going to say details. Oops. Yeah, details row 3. 2. No, 2. And I'm going to change these property row definition dot height to what? Right now it's set to 3, so let's bring that down to 2 and see what that looks like. With a star. There we go. And yeah, you kind of snuck in there, Focusborg. So what are we doing today? We've done a lot. At the moment, people had reached out to me throughout the last week or so and asked for this or that. Wow, I don't even remember. What did we do at first? I don't remember. I remember somebody wanted a background in my big details theme, so I did that for them. I did something else before that. Oh, somebody had a problem with LaunchBox, so I tested that whole scenario and showed out how I test the scenario. And couldn't get it to break in the way that the guy did it. Thank you, GameDube. Completely blanking. And now somebody said they had a Galaxy Fold 3 and they thought that this view was broken. So you can see that the video is like very large, and that's because they have a Galaxy Fold 3. Okay, so now I'm trying to fix that problem. Oh, look at that. A video that's not so, or video / screenshot area that is no longer too giant. So my theory was right. So basically, what did I do? I basically said, adjust the size of this row, which is probably somewhere like here. I mean, you saw the height and width. And make that row smaller if on, I guess I should show the code for anyone that cares. So it's basically a trigger that says adjust. I'm going to say this backwards. If the device has a physical aspect ratio of full frame landscape, which is a 4:3-ish landscape mode device, make the row details row 2.0 height instead of whatever this is, 3.0. You haven't had a chance to really test the update, but you managed to test the update by seeing faster boot times and a refreshed info panel or games detail panel that refreshes faster. That's good. Those are the exact things we did. So I'm glad that you could actually notice it without needing to read that we did it. Retrofrog. Now we can get going, except that we're almost at the end of the stream. You're catching us at the end again. I've now solved the problem of this theme for anyone that has a 4:3 Android device. There's got to be a lot of you guys out there, right? So this one theme should now work better. And the reason why it's working better is because this whole thing here, which is probably self-contained code, basically says grow height-wise to the size of that row. Like, just make it as tall as that row, and then use this converter to calculate the width to make it, in this case, 4:3. And you'll see that code here. So this right here says, like, this grid. Oh, yeah. So this grid, grow to the height of video grid, which is this one. Grow to the height of this one, which grows to the height of the row that it's in. And then use this converter to make it 4:3. But there's where the data triggers come in. If the platform is Game Boy Advance, do this, 3:2. If the platform is Nintendo Game Boy, do 10:9. If the platform is Nintendo Game Boy Color, 10:9. Blah blah blah, on and on. Platform specific aspect ratio sizes. Isn't that a fun way to handle a freaking border around a video? Oh, you didn't have a lot of gaming time? That's sad news. I had something funny happen yesterday. My brother reached out. So me and my brother and my cousin play a game called, it's an MMO game. I don't recommend anybody really play it. I'm only mentioning it because it's a funny story. It's called Pantheon: Rise of the Fallen. It's an MMO that's supposed to, I mean, if you remember the days of EverQuest and MMOs like that, then you'll like Pantheon of the Fallen. But he usually streams on Friday, and since we started playing this game, I'll just hop on his stream and just play with him for the whole time that he's on the stream, or at least part of the time he's streaming. And he reached out yesterday saying, is everybody good for the Friday stream? And I just replied back like you remember that Friday is Valentine's Day, right? And it was like this long pause. And I think his response was, it's like, we might have to move it to Saturday. It at least gives us an excuse to play a game together, which is good. Yeah, it shows where where his head's at. All right, so now the long process of how do I get the changes that I just made in this virtual machine right? Retrofry, yeah, it's good that I reminded him. Maybe he's like, oh crap, I had the chocolates, flowers. He's got to start doing that. All right, so the changes that I made is directly inside of this virtual machine I don't recommend using. And, Alright, so I go to LaunchBox here, themes, and I should have it all here, right? Okay, so I need to make a copy of this into the downloads folder. Is it? We're still on 117. Paste. Okay. There it is. The reason I move it there is because I've got this, that's the shared folder. That's the folder that exists on my computer. So I move it there, and I should see it here now somewhere. There it is. Is it done? It's done copying. I hope. What's the size of this? 50 megabytes. All right, so far so good. And now I delete that. And all this to change the size of a row for everyone on 4x3 displays, Android displays. All right, now I have to remember. So then I'll go here. Anyone can go here, by the way, if they want to upload your themes, which is just the www website/themes. If they want to attempt to put your themes into our theme manager, you can upload a theme. We'll get notified. We'll respond to you. We'll run it through its paces, and then if all goes well, we'll have it up on whatever these are: startup themes, pause themes, big box themes, LaunchBox themes, and LaunchBox for Android themes. A backlog killer feature. So it stops you from being able to play any of your games and then randomly releases them one at a time. And you can only unlock more games if you play that one game for a specific amount of hours. What do you guys think? Surprisingly, though, Focusboard, that is not entirely different than an idea that I had a bunch of years ago that we're still trying to like work towards, but it requires a lot to do. But some form of general gamification of LaunchBox, like you're saying, you know, people talk about how LaunchBox is the game in itself. So why not turn LaunchBox into some kind of game? But my idea was more specific to like some form of dailies. There'll be like certain things that you do. Like imagine certain tasks that you can perform in LaunchBox that earn you rewards. Let's call them LaunchBox coins. And those tasks can be anything. Like you're saying, play a game for 2 hours, or play this specific game and unlock this achievement, or play blah blah blah. I don't know. Edit 20 games and change metadata. It's like it could be anything, right? The sky's the limit on what the tasks are, and then present users with different tasks that are randomly generated for like a week or a day, daily tasks, weekly tasks, whatever. Achieve a high score on Donkey Kong or whatever. And then as you're earning these coins, we'll have like a section that sort of like a reward tree that you can unlock certain things, get rewards for basically anything that our minds can conceive. Get a special badge for something, earn like whatever virtual rewards, and your LaunchBox account will keep track of all of that stuff. And just by using LaunchBox, you can keep unlocking more cool stuff, and just the act of using it, if you're wanting to participate, you can, or you don't have to. And it'll just be there, and it'll be a fun like game that turns LaunchBox into a game in and of itself for people that want to do that. Right, Stig. We can 100%. It'll be a single sign-on service, right? Right, Mr. Nibble? And therefore we could have people getting points and earning coins for the game's database stuff as well. Right? So yeah, beat one of the speedrun world records in Mario 64. And we can have many different levels and the way of different kinds of tasks. Yeah, ED LaunchBox achievements. And then the way that I would view it is the rewards would have also different levels. So you'd start off with like some rewards that you can easily obtain, and they'll just get harder and harder as you go down the reward tree. And some will be really hard rewards to get, some will be easy. We're basically creating like a mini game of like a mini RPG of unlocking all these rewards. And the really rare ones will be one of those ones that you can like really take pride in. Like you actually accomplished this one, and only you could see that only 3 other people have accomplished this one or gotten this reward. And you'll have to make choices. Like you have enough points for one of these 10 different rewards, but you can't get them all. You got to choose one, and then that choice will matter. Because maybe that choice unlocks a different kind of reward tree that you're really wanting to go down. PvP in LaunchBox. Oh man. Yeah, so you guys can run with that idea. It's a Herculean effort to get to that point, but I would love to get there. Astrobob. Steam achievements for Dolphin Emulator was an April Fool's joke. Oh. Can you imagine Halo using a Wii balance board? That's funny. I mean, it's probably old news, but how long has the Wii balance board been something that you can achieve, that you can use in Dolphin? I assume probably for a very long time. Hey, at least we know if we went through that and did all that work and spent time expanding it and turning it into something good, that at least you would use it, Focusborg. The one thing that I know no matter how much time we use to spend on something like that, is that there's going to be people that will instantly choose to turn it off. And so we've got to live with that, that we know that that's going to happen, and be comfortable with that. Anyway, what was I doing? I was trying to figure out what version I'm on. I'm on 1.3. Is that right? When was the last time I updated this? There's one here that is 1.3. There is not one here. So I'm assuming that is right. .4, I guess. Or do I want to make it 1.31? Let's do 1.31. It was relatively small. Oh, I got to use the option to upload a new version. .31. I'm gonna just say 1.17 for this. Yeah, let's do that. Hey, you want this? And I know the guy that has it is already on that version, so I think I'm okay. Changes for this version. Theme now plays nicer on 4x3 displays. Okay, so now I need to make it here. There we go. And submit. I'm always thinking that I missed something. All right, 117, 1.31. Theme now plays nicer on 4x3 displays. I don't need to adjust anything else. This is right? Yeah. I'm submitting it, and now it should say that pending approval. And what happened in the background for people that will never release a theme? Wait, this is the wrong account. We got an email that basically says this: a new version of the unified. Oh wow. A new version of the Unified Light Android theme was submitted for approval by Favorite. Thank you. I feel like I knew that. Small box mode. Is it just game, emulator, play? That's what I'm assuming a small box mode would be. Just get rid of everything. I want to see my file and my emulator. And Game Noob, that's a great question. There are so many themes I would love to see added into this management system, and some themes have attempted. I'm not gonna lie, and the problem is that the themes on the forums are like the Wild West. Anyone can create anything, and they can themes themselves because everything's so open. We have probably too open of a theme engine, and so themes can crash big box, LaunchBox. They can overload people's computers. They can do basically anything, and so we kind of have to have a rigorous testing process. And so there were themes that were submitted that didn't make it through, and I know more recently I'd tried to work with a few theme devs to try and get their themes to perform better. And while I will not take somebody's theme and like completely edit it for them. I won't do that. But I will provide them like a list of all the different things that they should be improving. A lot of mistakes that you'll see on certain themes, because it's so open, is like a platform view where the wheel has no fallback at all. And therefore, if the user didn't include a clear logo for a specific platform, or a user doesn't have one, you would just see nothing. So that's a common mistake in themes. And it'll be things like that, like hey, you need to make sure that the index is working, and the navigational experience is actually working properly, and like this sort of thing that it's easy to get wrong, I guess, because of how open the thing is. Like, probably what we should do is make it so that it's not easy to get it wrong. But by doing that, it makes it so that the space, it makes it so that you can't really be as complex as a theme the more that we lock down. But then the trade-off is that then it's hard for you to break your own theme as a theme dev, and easier to theme it, that sort of thing. All right, so now that it's pending approval, I probably have to approve it, although I probably won't do it on this stream because it does require some steps that I'm not 100% comfortable with right now. And but there you go. I went through 3 things. I've tested Zokia's problem with network paths, but didn't find any problem, unfortunately, so I can't currently help him. Updated big details for Evolutions 3 on the forums and sent him the files, and updated Unified for Vader to use a 4:3 aspect ratio better, but it will benefit all people, all of you guys that have a 4:3 Android device, whoever has that. And Stig, you recently learned WPF to a degree. How easy it is to dev themes given a medium amount of XAML knowledge. Not that hard, to be honest. Not that hard. What I'd recommend is, and are you referring to which kind of theme? Is it big box, or are you looking for something else like a LaunchBox theme? Big box. Okay, so if you have LaunchBox installed and you go into LaunchBox themes folder, then you can go down to here, and there's this documentation that will show you BogBox specific bindings that will oh god, I think because I opened this, it's not going to open that one. There we go. All right, we're here. So you can see here that it will kind of teach you a number of things. One, it'll teach you all the different views that are available. There are a lot. You don't need to adjust all of them. The theming engine is designed to always fall back to the default theme. Yeah, so, but you can kind of understand what each one does. And really, if you think about it, a game or even a filter platform view is just a wheel of some kind, maybe an image of something, and a video. Like, what else would you need? And plus, you can have your own like images in the background, or custom stuff going on. That's all it is. So as long as you know the basics of WPF, which is the different layouts, grids, stack panels, dock panels, all that, all you really need is this. So down here you can see, if we get to the easier stuff, there's just a way for you to be like, hey, in a root games view, you can type this binding to see the platform name, or the screen. Here's a screenshot image path, and the front image path and the back image path for the game that you're seeing. And then we explain what is active game versus selected game right here. And so, yeah, everything is referenceable to a point, like 90% of everything. So it's straightforward, right? It's just like put wheel here, and then here you can see the wheel's called flow control, and we give you an example of one. Show you what all the special properties are for it, what they do, all the possible values. And then I believe even down here show what the heavily updated flow control is. So you can use the old one, which does have some benefits, or you can decide you want to use this new one, which has different benefits of like having different kinds of cameras positions, and having different, or having your own template. So you can see here that you can build your own template and add as many text and images that you want in there, knowing that, hey, if you add 10 images in there and you're displaying 10 items on the screen, that's 100 things that need to load right off the gate before the user does anything. You'd probably take down Big Box. So start at the beginning and take a look. The default theme is a fairly complex theme. It might not be a good place to start, unfortunately, but maybe look at old default. Very basic theme, and so it would be good. It'd be good to look at the coding and how it's laid out. There's no live preview of data, but every time that you make a change and you save it, if you have Big Box open, you can simply just hit like your change view button and reload that view, and you'll see it instantly update. So you make a change, hit save, go to Big Box, load it, and it's done. There's also the community theme creator, which Game Noob is it's more like the Photoshop of creating Big Box themes. Now, the only thing that you got to remember is that so Big Box and the themes that you can do in code is not the same themes that you could do in the community theme creator. When you're using code, you're kind of living in our sandbox that we've developed. When you're doing the community theme creator, you're in Dave's sandbox. you're able to do the things that he's made for you that is able to do. And it does allow a lot of people to get into theme creation, but then what I'm finding, like, historically, is that a lot of some themes come out of that CTC and they're really great, but it's very easy to overload big box with lots of images, and that's why a lot of those themes don't make it into the theme manager. Does the project list ever end in this hobby? Like, from our side, no. There's way too much stuff left to do. And Retrofrog, you wish there was a theme created for LaunchBox. To Dave's defense, LaunchBox and Big Box themes, not the same at all. Completely different controls, completely different everything. And so it's not as simple as him flipping a switch. He would have to rebuild it all from the ground up. You don't even lay out a LaunchBox theme in the same way that you would lay out a Big Box theme. Like, not even like the basic layout controls are the same, because you got to, with LaunchBox, you remember, it's just a window. You can size that window any way that you want. In Big Box, we're fighting against that by saying, hey, make it a 16:9 aspect ratio and disregard all resolution sizes. Like, we do so many tricks to, like, stop Windows doing the Windows thing that it does, which tries to resize things based on your resolution and your scaling and all that stuff. And in LaunchBox, we're like, no, let's embrace all of the LaunchBox or the Windows things, and as things are resizing, make sure everything is playing right and you're able to resize different panels and stuff. A lot of user interaction things in LaunchBox, not a lot of user action things in Big Box. Right? The user interaction thing in Big Box is essentially like one line of code in the theme that says put wheel here, put list here. Make the item in the list look like this. And so you can imagine, yeah, it's different. But you released a theme, you know how to theme now. You don't need no sandboxed theme creator for LaunchBox. You can just dive into the code and do your own thing. See? Working on it. And it's so much more rewarding when you learn how to do it in the code. And non-restrictive as much as it possibly can be anyway. There you go, Focusborg. A big box theme that looks like a Windows 3.1 thingy with folders, platform. So Big Box itself is a controller-focused navigation platform. And Windows 3.1 is a mouse-focused platform. So there's already going to be some differences there. You can make it look like 3.1. You can't make it navigate like 3.1. Now in LaunchBox, that would be a different story. Better lazy than crazy. I wish I had a shirt that said that. Anyway. Is it doable with regular LaunchBox then? Sure. Anything is doable with LaunchBox if you know what you're doing. You want folders are platforms. I mean, you'd have to live in the LaunchBox world, but you can style everything to look like LaunchBox 3.1. Who would use that? You know what I mean? I've been surprised ever since. But I've done things like, and here's me like trying to find something that I did many years ago. The DOS. Is that a thing that I did? Oh, that's wonderful. I did that one. Why is that one showing up above mine? There it is. I made this theme for Big Box. I don't think anybody uses it, but I made it. And I made this theme for Big Box. I also, again, don't think anybody uses it, but I made it. Now, I did see that somebody recently used this theme and built their own theme based off of this one. That was fun to see. Which one was it? Yeah, this one. I don't think he mentions my theme. Oh, he calls his alternate colors. He names it after my theme. the files. Oh, he even named the folder. Oh yeah, he just named the theme after me, but in here he's calling it modernized MS-DOS theme. So he doesn't like mention that he used my theme, but if you look at the picture, everything's laid out in the exact same way that I did. So that was fun to see that he basically created his own DOS interface based off of this one that I did, and did his own thing, and that was cool to see. Bill Gates using the DOS one. The one that I think was most impressive was if we're talking big box themes, there was probably been a while since he made it. I mean, a lot of these are pretty nice. Flat and classic mini consoles, and then this one. So I worked with this guy a little bit. His mini consoles, which forget about the way that he did it, but the thing about this guy is that he's creating these assets, probably borrowing some, but like manipulating them and creating the ones that he needs to make work. And I can definitely get behind that. Like, he's created like a crazy amount of assets to make this working pretty good. He is not a coder though, so 100% this is a CTC theme, and because of that, it's not the best performing one, and that's what stopped it from being put onto the. Well, there's two reasons why it stopped from being put onto the theme manager. But the first problem is that the way that he created it, he made some design choices that were maybe a little bit questionable to make it so that there's a lot of user setup. He's got like a whole guide on how to set up this theme, because it's not a click your theme and then have it work kind of theme. And then I mean, he made the choice to add a lot of assets, platform specific assets, which then again is great and not really a problem. But I find some people use LaunchBox or Big Box like this, where it's like they're just going into a specific platform. But what happens if you have a mix of games from different platforms? Themes like this kind of fall apart at that point. They've got like a default theme. I think he borrowed Colorful or something and then created a default theme for that scenario. But then in those scenarios, we're not looking at all this cool artwork. He did something like this for the platform view. So this is probably the most impressive from just like a sheer scope standpoint. Almost like when I did the retrotastic theme. I mean, we literally, it was me and two other guys that sat down. One guy left almost immediately, unfortunately, and then a second guy stepped in and helped me create like 180 something assets, one for every platform. Which is how we got that's fun. There's a comment talking about retrotastic on his theme. Here. Right, so it's how we got these like giant assets that are platform specific. Like we sat there and we created one for every, and talking about the ZX Spectrum, for every single platform. But then we stopped at the platforms, and because that was a lot of work. And then what I did with this theme, if no one's seen it, was then I allowed game-specific backgrounds, which is how you get this. So if you land on Super Mario Brothers, the Super Mario Brothers background will pop in, and then I think like this guy's also a character that will also zoom in, that is also game-specific, and it goes above this box. And then I did some silly stuff like this cart comes down from inside the box and just sort of inserts itself into some unknown thing down there. And then this whole thing just fades away. You switch a game to another game, and then it would look like this or something like this, the Zelda game, if you land on Legend of Zelda. Very old theme though, but because we did this work, I can understand how much work that guy is doing on a per platform basis. And if you really want to see the power of this theme, I basically said, hey, if you use this theme and like this theme, you can use this retrotastic documentation, build your own assets, and have a per game different look. And that's what this guy did. He created per game sets for many platforms. So every time you land on a game, it will display that game's artwork. That was pretty beefy. But this also has a whole bunch of setup and stuff to it. You 100% can use the WPF XAML animation system and themes. You can build your own plugins that add extra functionality if you wanted to. In the most extreme circumstances, there's one guy that created a plugin to bypass all of Big Box UI, and he built his own UI. As you can see, after the old Netflix style. And like, this has nothing to do with, like, you load it in Big Box, but he's just like, forget all of Big Box's UI. My plugin will now load my own UI that will display things the way that I want to display things. And it's been pretty popular because it's so different. Here's his little demo.
Start up
he's talking
game.
in it.
So in this case, it's a good default. You get a couple of special lists with platforms.
Yeah.
And that's your favorites list, any favorite game, any game that you flagged as favorited. And then you get a history list, and that's just
Yeah, it's similar to the Game Discovery Center. He did his own little thing. He also did like voice search, which was pretty cool, and a number of other things. I mean, look at this installation instructions. But if you go through it, that'll be a very interesting theme to use. Anyway, lots of great themes out there, to be honest. All right. Anyway, I need to wind down. It's getting pretty late, but thank you everybody for joining. I'll be back again next week. Please come back so I'm not talking to myself. And if you have any questions or anything that you want me to do, let me know. You can PM me any of that stuff ahead of time, or you can come to the stream and ask me the questions there, and I'll do my very best to help. No, completely optional to come back unless your name is Focusborg. Then I guess you can have a choice as well. No. Yeah, please come back. We'll talk some more LaunchBox. Great to see you guys, and we'll see you on Thursday, a week from there. Yeah, have a great weekend. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody. We'll see you guys later. Take care, everybody.